3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on PB Live. We have the first session of the World Spa and Wellness Convention, not live from London, but live from Canada, the USA, from the UK, of course, with Mark, with and also from Greece with Marina and Genia.
Hello.
So thank you very much, all of you, for joining. I'd like to dive right in because we have 45 minutes with you, and we would like also to hear from all of everyone joining in with a Q&A at the end of this session. We're going to be dealing with cope and hope, how to cope immediately for your spa business, because in this unprecedented situation where we're all in the same boat at the same time, we will share with you the insights, the experiences of some of our panelists today. This session will be followed by another panel exactly the same time tomorrow with other speakers talking about the same topic. But as of now, we have Maggie from the USA, Maggie Dunphy, the Director of Spa and Wellness Operations Americas for Hyatt. We have Genia Di Piero, CEO and founder of Cloud 12 in the UK, a wellness center, very innovative. Marina Efremoglu is the founder of Euphoria Retreat, one of the finalists for this year's World Spa and Wellness Awards in the Health and Wellness Destination. Of course, we have Mark Maloney, Managing Director of Professional Beauty, who had this excellent idea to take this convention online. And last but not least, we have Frank Pizzicalis, the Chairman of the ISPA Foundation from Canada and CEO, founder of Resort Suite. And if it's okay, I'll dive right in with the first question, because Frank, as Chairman of the ISPA Foundation, you are one of the few associations, if not the only one in the world, to have data from what's happening in the US and also with your international members throughout the world. So please, if you have some information about this, let us know how badly hit the spa industry is.
Thank you, Jean-Guy. I appreciate this and congratulations on this. Is a great forum. I think it'll be very valuable for our industry. So congratulations to you and Mark and Claudia for putting this on. So ISPA immediately, as you know, it was pretty clear the impact to the world with COVID-19, immediately took action. First action was setting up a microsite, which if you go to the ISPA website, there's a whole, right at the bottom, you'll see pretty prominently the COVID-19 microsite, and there's lots of resources there for the industry. Under the COVID-19 resources, there's a number of things, including CARES Act information, Spa Industry Resource Partner responses, the CDC, WHO, all kinds of data tracking. When I want to know what's going on, I go to the data tracking links that are provided within ISPA. Federal government, communications, AMTA, private business resources, health and wellness resources. So a lot of really, really valuable information in one place for our industry. There's protection and guidelines, financial resources, webinars and podcasts from across all international associations, and also communications template that spas can use. So lots of great resources there that people should certainly take advantage of. ISPA immediately started to do, I would say, real-time, essentially surveys of our membership. And so started on March 13th. And our most recent data we have as of March 23rd, there were over 400 spa leaders that were surveyed. And so we have about an 11-day period of information. Now, during that time, 8 out of 10 spa respondents had temporarily closed their spas, and 16% of resource partners had temporarily closed. Now, these numbers are probably closer to 100% now, at least for the spa operators. as you can imagine. 1/3 anticipate that they would have been closed for 2 weeks or less, and 20% anticipate being closed for 6 weeks or more. And I would say, again, these numbers are probably going to continue to shift, as we go along here. The other thing is, not surprisingly, 90% obviously felt that COVID-19 will have either a significant or detrimental impact overall to their business. 25% of spas had already laid off employees. And among the 75% that were remaining, were using things like paid vacation and sick days before transitioning to unemployment. So obviously this is going to continue to shift as we continue to survey. And we see obviously things happening here. But what I will say is there's a lot of resilience within our spa community. They are looking at creative ways to have their staff either salaried or hourly do work, deep cleaning the spa, evaluating retail inventory, looking at their business processes and making improvements there, refreshing their space layout, selling and shipping retail items, curbside pickup. All of those things, and even larger operations, maybe within hotels and resorts, are shifting spa employees over to other roles within the business, restaurants and coffee shops, those sorts of things. So lots going on. And, essentially communication is really key. We're finding a lot of the feedback we're getting is, great daily communications and self-care tips, meditation resources, all kinds of great things. And again, some of the results of this are available on the COVID-19 microsite. So now among the resource partners, 71% have transitioned to a work environment, remote work environment. That includes our team. Our entire office was closed on March the 13th, and everyone is working remote. We've been one of the fortunate ones that we haven't had to lay off anyone. We are committed to our team through this, depending on how many months it goes for, that everyone will keep their jobs. So, that is something that we've committed to them. But we are different in the sense that, we have a very highly specialized workforce, not to say that others don't as well. But our industry has been disproportionately affected. It's fair to say every business and every way of life has been affected right now, but certainly the spa industry, with pretty much full closures, is a major impact. And so, through this, as we come out of it, we're definitely going to need to look at a lot of different things as we look to reopen. We don't have a crystal ball, but certainly there's a lot of SOPs and compensation models and employee handbooks, sanitation standards, a number of things that will need to be looked at, as we move forward. And certainly ISPA is gathering that information, and through the foundation, looking at continuing to create resources, webinars, and a number of things that
Thank you.
will serve our industry.
Thank you so very much, Frank. Mark, to you. Mark,
you're muted.
Mark, you're muted.
Maggie, I'm going to ask with this first off with you. How would you advise business owners and managers to save costs, yet care for their colleagues and associates who are paid not always high wages and depend on tips? Maggie, could you answer that for
Maggie,
us?
can you mute? Maggie, you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please? Chris, is it possible as a host to unmute speakers? Okay, well, Maggie is going to unmute herself. I have a question for you, Genia.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. Right.
All right. Well, Maggie is getting a better connection. We'll ask her again your question right after that, Mark. Genia, I have one for you. How would you help owners, managers evaluate their needs for cash flow in these troubled times? what to pay and what to hold on.
Sure. Well, I would say that you should not be doing any payments at this moment in time. So you should cut all of your variable costs. You shouldn't do any cleaning. There shouldn't be no need for any flowers. Maybe you need a little bit of maintenance, but just looking at cutting costs right down. And then negotiating payment holidays with as many suppliers or anyone that you have on retainer. What I find that people are very supportive at this time. And even though contracts do not necessarily provide for that, they would consider your situation. And in the UK, the situation is a little bit different. So I know when my business partner gives me a few holidays, I will get some support from the government, as would I. But then sometimes, of course, there's just a human element to all that. So I had to basically find out the situation about every one of my 45 employees who lives with parents, who has support from their partners, who's struggling with cash flow and kind of viewed case by case.
Does any of the other panel have any, would like to share any cost-cutting tips?
Maggie, are you back on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay right where I am. And are we going back to me, to my question?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, before we get on to your first question, I just thought, do you want to add to what Jenny has said? Do you have any cost-cutting tips?
Well, I think what we all need to be doing now is what we're doing in our personal lives and looking. And again, this may have been covered, but I was disconnected. But work with our landlords and our leases and our mortgages and put them on hold if we can. And so it's not about cost cutting, it's more about cost deferring, because everyone is in the same boat here. And so again, if we can defer some of these costs that are out there, then when the time comes, I mean, we can hold on to our money so we can be paying our colleagues and associates now.
Thank you. And how would you do this in terms of particularly on staff? Now, how would you advise business owners and managers to save costs, particularly when it comes to, their staff costs?
So, as we know, most of our staffs are paid a commission, at least in the States. If we can hold on to them and find some tasks for them to do, some work that may be needed around the around the spa, and perhaps you can hire them at an hourly. In the United States, they're able to collect unemployment. Several of our properties are that they're collecting unemployment, and then our companies are adding a stipend to help them stay a little bit more whole, so they can keep track of their expenses. And I think one of the most important things we can do for our colleagues and associates is make sure that we're sharing business practices and financial practices. It's not always what they do best. And so some of the things we're looking at in our businesses, they can be doing the same things in their personal lives to keep them and their families as whole as they can during this difficult time.
If I can add about the situation in the UK, it's quite different because the government provided a support package for job retention schemes. So essentially, we can place all of our employees on furlough, which means we receive reimbursement from the government on the 8% of their salary, up to £2,500 per person. This actually means that they not do any work. So that creates a little bit of a challenge for me as I'm trying to move my operations online. I've got a very limited number of employees who can work. And those who are on furlough, we've launched a few initiatives to motivate them. Of course, suggesting a lot of volunteering opportunities, even if they're not delivering to maybe elderly or the families who struggle. They can be placing phone calls, so they can be participating in an effort. Volunteering is promoted under this scheme. Also, trying to still engage them. We're going to have some virtual trainings. We're going to still continue to kind of reward the hardworking employees who've always had the Employer of the Month scheme, and we're going to continue with that. We suggest the staff to put forward some business ideas, how we can reopen, plan maybe an open party for both employees and our clients. So try to keep everybody motivated. It's very important. Keep everyone on the ball and qualified as well. So looking at some training programs as well from this time can be beneficial.
So you're on some of the people that you've had to put on furlough, you are still putting them on training programs.
So people who are on furlough, they cannot undertake any work. They can volunteer. I believe they can train, and we're still getting more details from the government. So they can undertake training, and we need to pay them for that, but they will still be eligible for the reimbursement of 80% of their salary.
So for people not in the UK, the UK government is going to, we can make people temporarily redundant, and the UK government will pay up to 80% of the cost, up to a set amount, $2,500, roughly $3,000 a month. Can I ask you a question? So if you what would you suggest on employers though? Is there a bit of an issue where, so effectively you could be furloughed and be paid to do nothing, and then you would have to work, and then you would still be paid, you'd be paid to work? How would you get over that issue?
Well, I'd say that those who will work, they will get 100% salary, while those who will be on furlough will get 80%. So there's some monetary incentive. We will definitely recognize the people who work very hard, and we will motivate them. And potentially, you can also rotate people. So, furloughed, you need to be out of work for 3 weeks, and then you can swap. Might be not practical, but that would be, I suppose, fair to all employees.
Thank you. Marina, I know it's not your question, but do you have any thoughts on this? Marina?
I think that can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in Greece, also the government has taken up the cost, paying 800 euros to the businesses that they were forced to close, like spas and hotels, like we are. So that is the one aspect. And then people, what they are talking about is, especially in what we are planning to do, to make, let's say, our own metrics of people that really this amount is not a survival, it is a survival issue, and then finding a way to compensate them for more for that. So we will be more, at least for the first month, and we see how it goes for April. We will try to see that people have more in need, that they may have issue survival, to give them extra money. And we don't know how to do that yet. We have to find a way to do that, because it won't be legal. But I mean, this is the idea that we're going to do mostly in terms of need, what is needed.
Well, that's very humane. I suppose a smaller business can do that, be more personal. Bigger businesses, Frank or Maggie, have you got any other as how to support their staff without? Eventually, hopefully we'll come out of this, and we need our reputations as business people intact. Is there any further examples that you can give?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the Canadian government is trying to, first of all, they want as few people to be furloughed as possible. So what they're trying to do is have a program. At first, it was 10% of people's salaries, but they immediately realized that that just wasn't going to make a difference. And they announced just on Friday that they're now going to cover 75% as long as you keep them employed. So the details of that are still coming. But I think at this time, as a business owner, you do have to make tough decisions, but you also have to be understanding of your team. And the more that you can do right now, I know I sent, and it's all about communication. I sent a memo to our entire team. We have calls throughout the week. And so there's lots of good communication and just letting them know what we're doing to give them some assurance, some security. Because there's a lot of stress and anxiety out there in terms of what's going to happen. And so we wanted to give them insights on what we're doing, be very transparent about our decision making, and trying to support them and their families as much as possible. So, I think everyone is trying to be as creative and understanding as we can be to get through this together. And so hopefully governments will assist small business to make that happen. And certainly you're seeing out there, Maggie's CEO, Mark Utzman, he is speaking right out on LinkedIn and speaking to not just his own people, but to everyone in our industry and sharing some really personal thoughts about what's going on. And I think today business is personal. So, we have to take that into account.
Mark, I see that there are quite a few questions for Q&A. Shall we get on with the next question?
Yes, indeed, please. Is that yours? I think that is you, isn't it, Jean-Guy?
No, it's yours, Mike, but I'll take it if you want. Marina, how do you suggest spas keep in touch with their clients? What types of insights or wellness tips do you share with your clients? Because I see a lot of spas frantically going on sell mode, which is, why not a tactic to still survive with retail online. But I see more and more spas also create a human relationship with their clients to say that even in these moments of distress, they care for each other with lots of content, inspirational content, as Frank said, from ISPA members. So what do you put in? And then we'll hear it from Maggie and Jenya.
Okay. First of all, do you see me? Because my camera...
It's okay. We can hear you very well.
But you cannot see me.
No, but it's okay, Marina.
Because I see myself.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Don't worry.
Some reason.
Go ahead.
It's okay, Marina. We hear you.
My camera also what's happening. Okay. So retreat is to abstain a little bit to see what is happening, because there's so much noise in the internet right now that you don't want to be there and selling another product. This is not the approach we decided to go for. So we decided to offer real value and not with a hidden agenda to make that amortize it. So replace physical contact by virtual contact, but at the same time, we want to keep a personal relationship, especially with clients that they have participated in our retreats and they are repeat customers. So we're planning to have through emails or sometimes with WhatsApp group especially for people that have participated in our retreats, to have a personal contact with them. And in a way, we are better placed to do that because it is our philosophy is not just a physical aspect of the whole thing, that you need the physical presence to be there, but we also are dealing with the emotional support and the spiritual reasoning for why this is happening. So this we will go out live with a free webinars. Not just it won't be just webinars. It will be like a retreat, like a virtual retreat. And then we will offer all the aspects of euphoria methods through thought, includes the spiritual connection with meditation and trying to find what is the meaning because of what is happening, because it's not just business. Here we're seeing the world really changing, and we have to understand what is happening, and we have to understand how each one of us can support that, how each one can be really the best we can, which is in a way why we founded Euphoria. We will also support through tips in terms of immunity, in terms of yoga, in terms of cooking and all that. But the core of what we're going to do is hold virtual retreats. So it's not just webinars. It is a way for the people to really feel supported and be heard and guided through this time.
That's a wonderful idea, because in this time where Zoom and Skype are flocked with webinars and sessions and calls all day long, you are going to go beyond webinars and virtual retreats. Before we hear it from Maggie, Genia, I know also you have moved a lot of your operations online, especially with yoga classes, kids classes. Can you explain that?
Yes, I'm part of the businesses that are doing webinars and live Q&As, and as much as I don't enjoy doing live Instagram, you do all it takes for your business to stay relevant and to survive and to spread the word. We're a wellness club, and I'm a herbalist and naturopath, and for me it's really important to spread the knowledge about healing powers of plants, and I'm doing some demos of traditional remedy recipes. I want people to actually buy some horseradish, garlic, apple cider vinegar, and make those at home without having to rely on deliveries and having to rely on which are also running low. We are doing yoga. We have a spa and a kids club, as well as brasserie and wellness clinics. So we're trying to support all of those clients with some informational pieces. I'm doing, as a herbalist, a wellness hotline, so answering questions every Wednesday. If people have any concerns, or the reality of it is modern medicine and pharmaceutical medication can't really do much for prevention. So you have to turn to health and lifestyle and healthy diet, and going back to the roots and spreading this knowledge is very important for me. I don't believe that any of us can make money or should try to during this period. It's more about trying to do what we can to spread the knowledge and help each other. We are in it together, and the only way to come out of it is to stay together and support each other.
Thank you so much, Genia. Mark, I'll be cheeky enough to ask another question before I pass the baton to you, my friend. Yes, it's true, Genia, that it's not a moment to be super business focused by selling and going for retail, although some spas are doing that. And yesterday there was a great session from one of the UK trainers of Guino, giving insights and tips on how to do an online consultation when you're an esthetician at home and you want to stay in touch with your clients. So this also helps. But my next question is for you, Frank. 2 years ago, you were in London and you gave a fantastic presentation about what people should ask more of their spa software, how they should dig deeper into the way they operate their business, because you said at that time, a lot of money is left on the table. And with most of the spa owners, most of the spa managers always saying they're deep into daily operations, the daily grind, they don't have the time to think in advance. Well, right now we have a lot of time. Can you lead us through on your insights on how they should take some time to think more and prepare for yield management, menu engineering, and specifically what you touched on back then, which was dynamic availability and dynamic pricing?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy to talk about revenue management at a time when there's zero revenue coming in. But certainly, you're absolutely right that it is a perfect time to actually sit down and analyze your business. Really look at the structure of your menu. Really look at how you sell, and as you're booking treatments, should I be doing that full facial or a wax service, which might use the same spa therapist at that moment, but really should we be trying to push more towards and using dynamic availability during those peak times to make sure that we're doing services that will yield us the highest profit, but also have a higher drag on product sales. You do a high value facial, in many cases, they want to use the products that were actually used in that facial that makes their skin feel so good. So looking at how you do business is a perfect time right now. Go back and analyze the trends, analyze your menu structure, and really break it down by profitability on each and every service. And I think it'll be an eye-opening exercise, and then it'll start to, I think, guide you in terms of what you should be making available dynamically during certain times when you've got low occupancy and times of high occupancy, where you could have 3 times the treatment areas and still could not meet the demand, and you're turning away a lot of business. So just making sure that as you come out of this, you come out stronger. The one thing I will also say, I'm also a spa consumer. And the one thing that as consumers we can all do for our local spa is buy a gift card today. Go and spend $500 or whatever you can to buy a gift card and at your local spa, because it sends a real message that, first of all, it gives them much needed cash right now, but it also tells them that we value what you do, and the sun will come out again. Business will return. So just giving them that confidence that we understand what they're going through, and we're here to support them.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Frank. I believe what you said is even more important when so many spa managers, owners, directors are considering when it is time to reopen, not reopening 6 days a week like they used to with the regular closing on Monday or Tuesday. A lot of them, if they take inspiration from what's happening in Hong Kong right now, maybe it will be interesting to only reopen 3 days a week or 4 days a week for just the first weeks of reopening. Later, Thierry Malray, one of our keynote speakers, touching on the social and economic consequences of the pandemic. He will speak at 5 p.m. UK today. When I asked him the question, how do you think the economy is going to switch back on? He said, it's not going to switch back on. The economy, the global economy, is like a nuclear plant. It takes months to really grow to the point where we were, and it will take months to restart. It will not shut down immediately. So as we will be, progressively restarting, you should also progressively restart and make the most of the few days that you will be having. Mark, back to you.
I'd like to add that is, we don't know what's going to happen at the end. And of course, the absolute ideal would be to train our staff and have our managers plan for yield, maximizing yield, and all these things we absolutely want them to do. But of course, if they've been furloughed or if the business needs to furlough them, it's a very tough one. But, clearly the idea to have training, if we can train them, even if they're furloughed, that would be an excellent idea. There's so much that we can do that I think all business owners want to do, but of course it's a question of can you afford to keep the staff on at the same time? We also don't know in certain, if and when we open, we don't know whether the government will allow what the social distancing rules are, but I am sure that there are certain immediate treatments that consumers will want that perhaps we at spas may want to think and adjust our menus, in the sense of that, I will certainly want my haircut in a few months' time. And there are other things that we will want that perhaps we might spas may look at changing their treatment menus. Does the panel have an idea on this? Any takers on that comment?
I think that close physical contact won't be the first thing that our guests would like. So I would suggest to change that with more of emotional support groups, doing good things as a group together, keeping social distances at the same time. But I don't see one-to-one massages being the first things that our guests would like. So I think that we should go to a model that we will be working together and finding other ways to coping with what has happened. So more of the emotional and physical distancing, like doing yoga in a big studio with a lot of room, not just one yoga mat next to each other.
I think there might be some other ways. So, for example, keeping your hygiene up. I know our clients appreciate it, that our therapists use masks and gloves in some cases. Also, we use the UV lamp, which has antiviral, antimicrobial properties to disinfect rooms every time. So I think it will be important to demonstrate that you keep your hygiene up. I think it's also very important to brainstorm about what the world will be like post-COVID and potentially look at some services that will be more popular than others. Potentially there will be more wellness focus, so the spa schooling wellness with traditional massage might benefit, and I agree, yoga or going bath, some mindfulness focused activities might be popular. The world definitely will be more digital, so considering maybe to have an app if you don't already. But also, I think now is the time to turn every stone and renew your contract. I think many SMEs found out that the insurance didn't cover this kind of crisis. So having provision for, notifiable diseases and COVID in particular, review employment contracts. Most contracts did not have layoff provisions, as harsh as it sounds. Review your supply agreements and procedures and employee handbooks. So now is a good time to kind of strategize and potentially identify new trends and new products.
Mark, if I could say one more thing on that, I think as well, we're really going to have to look at guidelines, a hard look at sanitation guidelines, and reassuring staff and consumers that it is an increased focus, right? Just to get that confidence back, really, for both sides. It will be an adjustment period, and so we just really need to understand. Also the mindset of both the consumer and our
Frank.
providers.
Actually, I have a spoiler alert for this coming Friday. We have a session with 4 fantastic spa professionals who have been through catastrophes. I'm talking hurricanes. I'm closing everything shutting down in Cairo when the Islamic Brotherhood came in power. And one of the things that Virginie Fliegans, who is currently opening the Bulgari Spa in Paris, was saying about these guidelines for sanitation is that right now, as she was opening a spa with coronavirus, she's rethinking completely the SOPs, the amenities that she's going to be using. Do you have a jar where you put your hand in and you get your almonds and your dried apricots? What do you offer in single packets? So everything that was coming in bulk to avoid single packets and have a very light footprint on ecology now is going to come back into play, maybe with the sanitation, safety, and the footprint on the world. So there's more to come on this on Friday. Mark, I see we have maybe 4 or 5 more minutes. Would you like to take a question from Chloe and Chris from the PBTV?
Yeah. One of the specific questions we've had from Maria Sonina, sorry, Maria, if you can hear.
In Moscow.
In Moscow, is have you got any tips for how to get support from the government? I'm not sure we're an expert in Russian support, but from the UK, does anybody have any tips for how they can get government support in any of their jurisdictions? Can you outline the panel what that support might be? Jenya, you start first if you don't mind.
Sure, I'm also Russian, so I don't have much insight into the Russian government, but I think for all of us, it's important to write to your MPs. Potentially, you know, if this is more global issue, start a petition, make your voice heard. But you know, in the UK, I think the most effective rule is having constituents appeal to the MPs.
I would like to really raise my hat to Frank again and to Lynn McNish, the president of the ISPA, and also the board of directors of ISPA, because very early on, they have prepared a very serious and well-documented document that they're presenting to governors, senators, to the House with the relief package. Frank, would you like to let us know a little bit about what you're doing, what you guys are doing as far as lobbying and being the voice of the SPA in the US, but also worldwide?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is obviously also finding, researching, obviously through our members, but also we're doing research through consumers, through our PwC research on consumer perception. So I think coming out of this, it's going to be really important work to get an understanding of really the mindset of the consumer and what we'll need to adjust as an industry moving forward. So, from government resources, again, that COVID-19 resource on the ISPA website, there's a lot of different links, and we're going to continue to bring in, globally from the UK, from Canada, from other parts of the world, obviously the US as well, and so having all of that information in one place. Again, can be a real resource for SPA operators in terms of how to access either government support and other kinds of information to help them navigate.
I believe we have a question from Sarah Watterson, but I know Marina wanted to say something about this.
Let Marina go first. Marina, what would you say to the last question? Marina, are you there? Looks as though we... No, we can't hear you.
Unfortunately, Marina, we seem to have a weak signal from you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Please repeat. Yes.
Okay. So what I wanted to propose, and I think it has to do with our willingness as businesses and as our wellness expertise to change our model. And I think that what part of the world would look after we kind of reopen up is a sense of cooperation, is a sense that especially places like Euphoria or other places that aspire to create real well-being, we have to find a new way to cooperate between us and not continue the old competitive model. So what I wanted to suggest is to create, and that could come from you guys, from World Wellness as an example, or it's something we already talked with Healing Hotels of the World, to create a unified platform that spas and healing hotels are going to provide free content, and there's not going to be a hidden agenda. So anybody can choose, and we can have power as a voice, as a trusted voice, because we already have a history, so we're not coming from nowhere. But that would be a real service, to have a unified virtual platform.
Thank you so very much, Marina. Mark, would you like to take the last question from Sarah before we have to conclude? Do we have the time?
Yeah, I think we have time for just one more question. I'll just Sarah Watterson, can one of the panels speak about memberships and how memberships could help financial recovery in the bottom line? Maggie, do you want to take this one? or Frank? Maggie, do you want to go? We haven't heard from you much.
I think Maggie wasn't able to get back in.
Yeah, she's in,
But what I will say,
and she's unmuted.
Memberships are pretty key, right? It's a recurring revenue stream, so it's just that that assurance that that revenue, month over month is gonna come in, and so now you might have to freeze some memberships during times like this. So it depends on what you offer. But to Marina's point, if you're offering some really valuable content, people are going to see that they're getting value of it, even if they aren't able to use your facilities during that time. So I think the membership model, again, creates stickiness with your business, with your operations. It's not something you do once a year going to a spa, but it's something you incorporate into day-to-day life. So I think the membership model in a lot of different ways is very important, obviously, for spas moving forward. And Jenya can certainly talk about, certainly within her business, some of the business models that she's explored as well, to see what would work, in more of a urban spa setting.
Jenya, have you got any comments to say?
Sure. Through our membership model, it's started going. New members are free, and this is mainly to the kids club, where kids members. So one of the ideas, and we haven't decided yet, is still the situation is still unfolding, but one of the ideas, rather than freezing memberships, to give this credit back in spa treatments or other adjacent services like F&B. So if you're a spa, you maybe are going to give it back and give vouchers so that you haven't completely lost that revenue, rather than kind of freezing and potentially never getting this money back.
Mark, you're muted.
Mark, you are muted.
If I was a member of a place or a spa and I could visit the spa, I might be asking for that membership to be frozen. What have you dealt with on that side?
I think we will either end up freezing or giving back this credit in food and beverage or spa treatments. So it will be either or, and I know there are some members clubs in London who have frozen, especially gyms, and then some others like Circle House and Annabelle's that are giving it back in food and drink credit. So you can do either. I think we will continue to provide online content and support our members, even if we freeze. We just want to help them out, even if there's no revenue at this stage. But I think freezing might be the most realistic option if we stay closed for 3 months.
Well, on that note, I'd like to, Mark, sorry, on that note, I'd really like to close the session because unfortunately, Chris and the other speakers are waiting also to start in about 10 minutes. Interesting that we end up on freezing something and freezing memberships, because a lot of the time when we are in stress, we are in fight or flight or freeze. And I believe with all of you today, we were in a place of pause and plan, of rest and digest, and also prepare for the next part. So thank you so very much today. Thank you, Frank, Maggie, Jenya, Marina, and especially you, Mark, for organizing this online convention. I was happy to help prepare it. My name was Jean-Guy de Gabriac, founder of the World Wellness Weekend. Thank you so very much. Chris, I believe there's a lot of more further sessions after this one.
We have one more.
Absolutely, we have 2 more.
We'll be back at, I think you'll be back at 5, won't you, with Thierry, Jean-Guy?
Absolutely. A great session, one-on-one session about the social and economic impact of this pandemic. So stay tuned for more. And thank you, Mark and PB team, for this great effort. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.